Hey, this Tony Gaskins, the Pander, part 2. Tony Gaskins, pandering the women, part 2. Now, I kind of forgot what I was saying on the first part before my meeting, but I just finished my meeting. And I finished the meeting. It's an app that I'm a partner in, equity stakeholder in. And this app probably is gonna sell for multi millions, but this a business thing, and it's a life connection. Met a guy, and I have some connections that could benefit him, and he had an app that I really like, and so coming together, and see, that's business. And I could have a channel on just business, my business ventures. Got another company, partner with a guy, media company. It's gonna be worth tens of millions within a few years. We just watched a similar company to what we started just get acquired. Majority stake ownership got acquired. They valued at 75 million. And another company bought a majority stake. So that means they got at least $40 million for having 2 million email addresses. With our media company, we're gonna surpass them 2 million email addresses. So if that company can get acquired, majority stake, ownership from another company, $40 million, our company gonna be able to do the same or more. You see what I mean? So my point to you, when you look at what I'm doing, I need you to understand that first and foremost, it's about purpose. It's about purpose, and it's about passion. Meaning I had to become passionate about helping in the relationship space. And I help men and women, but 95% of my YouTube audience is women. So only 5% of my videos are directed to men, because I also understand my time is valuable. And people say talk to the men, but if 95% of the audience is women, that means that's who wants the information, who needs the information, and I'm not gonna be wasting time and breath, and energy talking to an audience that's not there. So if you notice, even my videos to men is still majority women watching the video. And the way men get to watch it is if a woman forwards it to them. But back to what I was saying, is the reason why I talk with so much certainty is because in my life, it's, growing up quiet. I was a ladies' man, but I still was very quiet. So what I did is I observed everybody. I watched everything. So I learned how to read people. And what I learned is that the world treats us based on how the world sees us. And the world sees us based on the beauty constructs in the world. So based on how you fall within the beauty constructs of the world, that's how you're viewed. So based on the constructs in America, I may be viewed a certain way, but I could easily in another country be viewed the opposite way. So if America says that the average man is 5'9", well, I'm 5'10", so I'm average or slightly above average. But women say they want a man that's 6 foot. I'm 2 inches shorter, so I could be less attractive because the standards of women is 6 foot tall. And so it's all about just the constructs around us. But in our world, I fell onto the side of things to where I wasn't seen as looks challenged or unattractive. Because as I was growing up, women, they weren't really tripping on height because we was all the same height. Like it was rare to have a guy that's over 6 foot. That's like the one guy on the basketball team, maybe 2. But we're not in the land of giants. So it wasn't a thing until like grown women, till I got grown, that height really became a thing with women looking for their husband and all of that. But even then, my wife 5'8", so she tall for a woman. Because a lot of women are like 5'4", 5'5". My wife 5'8", and I got a wife. So it's still it didn't hinder me. And so that allowed me the opportunity to have a lot of access to women. And what I found in dealing with women, it was extremely easy for the most part. And it was like, I would say 99% of women, at the minimum 95% of women that I dealt with was willing to have sex on the first night. Meaning like the first time we were in the presence of one another. I would say 95%, and that's me being conservative because I could say 99%. And that's what really made my wife stand out, because she didn't sleep with me when I wanted to sleep with her. When I was trying her, she turned me down. And that was the first woman that I was attracted to, like legitimately attracted to, that turned me down. And I could count on one hand how many other times I had been turned down. And that was 3 times. You know, 3 times, 2 times as an adult, 1 time as a, teenager, 2 times as a teenager. So that's 4 times that I could count that a woman said no. And then, so when you done talk to hundreds of women, and I didn't sleep with every woman that I could have slept with, I just would know. I just could tell, like, wow, she coming on to me, or she want me. And I'm just, I never was the type. I did never like the woman to come on to me. I am a pursuer. I was that type of guy. I want to go out and I want to approach the woman and say, hey, shoot my shot. If a woman come at me, I throw up in my mouth. I'm like, absolutely not. Because I just knew that's not the average nature of a woman. So for this woman to be able to do that, she'd have been through some things. She got a story to tell, because that's just not that common. And so that's what helped me shape my perspective. So I was able to read all these men, read all these women, being quiet, being observant. And then when I was 22, I went to my homegirl that I grew up with, and her brother was dating her brother was dating a white female in college, and he was dating this young lady. And I went to her and I said, hey, tell him to be careful with them white females, because everything ain't gravy. Like, a lot of people don't like that. It's a lot of hate. It's a lot. I done been down that road. And she was like, well, what made you stop talking to him? And I told her, I can't even remember what I said, but I think I just talked to her just about, like, just experiencing the racism and just remembering what my little homeboy went through in the 6th grade when he wrote an essay saying that he feel like an Oreo and he don't fit in and he don't know who he is. And then thinking about how his life had turned out as a biracial kid. He was addicted to drugs. He got kicked out of school, and it was just identity crisis. And so I was just like, the world ain't that scarce for me to be chasing a fantasy. Like, for me to be, the reason why I dealt with white women is just because when you deal with so many women, you just get used to what you used to. So you get used to black women. So then you go to Hispanic, you go to white, because when you're a player, you touch everything. You want Asian, you want Hispanic, you want white, you want black, you want biracial, you want everything as a player. And so that's really why I went down that road, because I hadn't already done everything. And so I was like, let me see what this is about. And I learned some harsh lessons over there. And then the comparisons was different. Like, I started to really realize that, the women on my race, it's not a one size fits all, because you have some real easy ones. But as far as the wife level, the black women, they were just more respectable. and they didn't fear me, and they know who they were, and they weren't gonna do nothing they didn't want to do on the wife level. The wife level, interracial dating, dealing with white women, they didn't understand a black man, so they kind of feared me. They were just down for whatever, to where like certain stuff you'll try them with, a black woman would be done stab you or be done, you know, cuss you out. The white women, they'll just, you know, go along with it. And so I'm like, that ain't what I need, because I'm too wild out here. I'm too reckless out here. If I got somebody that I just could run over, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I need a woman that's gonna, you know, put her foot down. And I know it was some white women out there, but that ain't what I'm finna go look for just because of a color, because I was never looking for a woman based on her color. I just would meet women, even with my wife. I didn't want a lighter skinned wife, even though my mama is light skinned. My mama is lighter than my wife. My mama is very light skinned. But, and most guys, a lot of guys look for a woman that look like their mama. Not all the time, but a lot of guys do. So because I was raised by a very light skinned mama, you would think that I'd be looking for a light skinned woman, but I wasn't. I wanted a woman my color or darker, because I just fell in love with the black culture and just who I am as a black man. And I wanted my kids to be, you know, black. So when I met my wife, it was just by happenstance. Like, I was not looking for a light-skinned wife, a white wife, a Hispanic wife. I was still a grown boy, and I was looking for one-night stands. I was looking, hey, what I'm finna touch? I need to touch something I ain't touched before. So when I seen my wife, I'm like, oh man, she like a Puerto Rican. But she looked like a darker skinned Puerto Rican. And you know, I hadn't been out there and hadn't come across me one Puerto Rican, but she was real loose. She was out there. So I was like, nah, I don't do with all the super duper loose. I said, I need a little bit more of a challenge, man, for this notch in the belt. And I'm being very transparent with y'all on this, because I want you to understand this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm giving away the game. And so people could take it, you know. And one lady, it was a white or Hispanic lady in the comments. 100 women? Oh my goodness, that is so disgusting. It's like, man, shut up. I'm telling you about me to help your butt realize the reality of men. So if I did it, she's like, I don't know if I could do that. Well, you gonna be single then. Because that's where every man sleeping around until he find his wife. Ain't nobody, you got 1 out of 1,000 men that's saving themselves to marriage. It just we live in a nasty, secular, overly sexually charged world. So when I was at 100, I literally had a homeboy that was 2-3 inches shorter than me, 4-5 shades darker than me. I mean, just look like, look like that. Just look like this here. Just look like that. And he was at 600 women. And I knew it because I had been around him and I seen him and his crew. I seen him go through 13 women in one day. 13 women. And he, I don't know what a handsome man looked like, but I know what a looks challenged man looked like. And he was closer to look challenged. And then his other homeboy, who was a little more reserved, you know, kind of closer to me, but a little bit more out there because he had more access, because he was around a lot of women. His number was 300. And so I can't tell nobody's story for them, but what I try to help women understand is, like, this how men living. This what you think, you know, we was the MGTOW. We were the MGTOW men. We were the original red pill men. You know what I'm saying? I had to become a real man when I realized I was operating from insecurity. So when I met my wife, I literally was looking for a one-night stand. I was just looking for me another flavor of the rainbow. And she happened to be a wife. And so that's how, so for the people who think I'm a colorist or think that I chose a light-skinned wife, listen, when I got with my wife, it was 2005. Like, all this right here, brown skin, light skinned women thing that you see across the media with these celebrities, I've been with my wife since 2005. So that wasn't like That wasn't a trend back then. That wasn't no trend. That wasn't no thing. Like my best friend I grew up with, his wife, my color. He my color. And everybody, my sister, she had a lot of boyfriends. She my color, a shade darker. Like where we come from, it wasn't everybody want a light-skinned girl. That came later because of the media. That came later. That came, and yes, it had been happening, but it wasn't like a trend. Like now it's a trend. Like today, it's a trend. And because of movies and music and, just the images we seeing. But don't, because coming up, light-skinned women used to get picked on. Half-breed, light bright, Casper, all Oreo, like light-skinned women was picked on. So it wasn't always no thing, and a lot of people don't understand that. So my wife, she turned out to be a wife. And I met her at 21 years old. So when I met her and I realized that she was my wife, that's when I said, okay, I'm gonna get out the game. When I met my wife, I had 4 other women. When I met my wife, I actually had a girlfriend when I met my wife. When I sat down and talked to my wife, when I got up from talking to my wife, I called my girlfriend. I said, hey, we done. I was that type of dude. I said, hey, we done. Hey, it's over. Bye. And I broke up with her just like that. And never spoke to her again. Just like that. That woman that I broke up with, let me try to help y'all understand something, because a lot of y'all don't get it. That woman I broke up with, I had her name tattooed on my stomach, the size of Tupac had Thug Life on his stomach. When I met my wife, I had to go get that covered up. Now I have a Black Panther, like the panther, the animal, not the man with the fist. I got the animal, a panther, because that was the only kind of cool looking, and we in Florida, so our state animal is Florida panther. So that was the only kind of animal we could come up with that'll cover it nice and kind of have a mean little look to it. And so, I got a Black Panther on my stomach now. And then I went and put my wife's name. Once we got all the way official, I put my wife's name over my heart. Whichever that is. I think it's over here. And so, there you go. That right there. And I was like, I'm finna change my life. So at that point, what I started doing is I started slowing down. So I let the one young lady go. Boom. She later I was married, and she was like, I knew he had somebody when we was talking. She sent me a message on Facebook. I knew you had somebody. I actually didn't. I was talking to that young lady and did a couple dates with her before I met my wife. I cut her off after I met my wife, but I had got with my wife and married my wife, so she was thinking that I was already with my wife, but my wife actually came after. My wife was the last person. She was gonna be woman number 5 on my rotation. And then when I met her and realized that she was a wife, the other 5 women, my wife was finna be number 6 on my rotation. The other 5 women got cut off. One of them was my girlfriend. The other one I was just talking to him. You see the level that I'm trying to tell y'all. That's why I got so many videos, because this is the level I was playing the game at. And I was broke. When I was doing that, I was broke. Like, I ain't had no money. Like, a lot of times you think men get women off money. No, I ain't had no money. Ain't had no money. It was just talk game. It was just aura. It was just energy. And it was just a plethora of women. It's because the women, they wasn't nothing special now. It ain't like they were just drop dead gorgeous and just all that. It wasn't nothing like that. They, you could have buried them and made it look like something, and it'd been all right, and they'd have grew into themselves. Because even my wife, she grew into herself. Y'all see my wife today. My wife, she look way better. My wife look way better than she looked when I got with her, because we come from a hood area. So when you hood, it make you look worse. because just the trends and stuff in the hood is just real kind of tacky. So my wife was beautiful, but now she next level now. She at the top. She at the top now. So, but my wife didn't always look like that. You know, her eyebrow was real thin, because that was in back then. Just a little real thin, and you know, she was, you know, chubbier cheeked, you know, and she was beautiful, but it was like a beautiful cute. And so y'all done see my wife. I was gonna post the picture like how it started, how it's going, but she was like, no, absolutely not. You can't post that, because she don't want to post them old pictures. Even though she was attractive, you know, in relation to, you know, our area in the world or whatever, but she like wine. My wife fine like wine. And a lot of us, like myself, I'm more like soda. And you leave the top off the soda. You get a real cold soda and you take it out and you forget it's on the cabinet and you leave the top off. That's kind of more so how I have gone down. Because I used to be on another level. I used to have about 14 abs. My muscles was popping out, chiseled. I was chiseled with muscles. I was 40 pounds lighter. So I had cheekbones. I had a slim face. I looked it totally different. So I'm like soda, my wife like wine. And so when I got with her, I said, and she was just so strict, like she just didn't play the radio. She didn't play no games. Anything I tried to do, she would own it. Boom. She would own it, calling me out, checking me about it. So I thought I was gonna keep being a player. But she wasn't with it. She shut it down. And so when she shut that down, I'm like, hey, I got to get on out of the game. And so I hit my homegirl up, and I just was giving her advice about relationships. And she said, and when she asked me why I stopped dealing with white women, and I told her, and I said, tell your brother now. She said, Tony, you tell him. He'll listen to you before he listen to me. I was too scared to tell him though, because I just ain't want him to think I was hating. I think I did talk to him about it, but a man gonna do what a man want to do. A man, when he in that good guata, that's what I used to call that. What I be talking about peach cobbler now. I used to call it peach cobbler when I'm talking about eating. Let y'all forgive it now. We ain't trying to hear. When he in that good guata, you hear me? He's not trying to hear nothing you saying. So that young man, he married with 2 kids from his wife, and they worked out. They doing fine. We still talk about, you know, the looks that they get and stuff like that. But his wife, she different. She an exception to the rule. You know, she an exception to the rule. Her family like him, and it worked out for them. So interracial relationships can work, but I was scared for him that he'll go through the stuff I went through. He didn't go through that. And so, but when the young lady said that to me, she was like, you tell her. I was like, no. And then she said to me, she said, Tony, you the biggest player I never seen. And the reason why she said that, because one time I had asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said, yeah. And she sent me a Valentine's gift. Was the dopest Valentine gift I had ever got. To that point, I was in college, and I had my mama send her like a little Baron candy, and I got the Valentine's gift. I told her thank you, and we was supposed to be like boyfriend and girlfriend, but we was in 2 different states, and I just never talked to her. I just never talked to her. And so after she agreed to be my girlfriend, I just never talked to her again. That was just how I was. I was just that. You see what I mean? That's why I teach on the level that I teach. That's why I give the way I give, because I'm righting a lot of wrongs. Now, we never slept together or anything like that. Never kissed or anything like that. So it ain't like she went through a lot of trauma over it, but it's still gonna be a little sting at least. You know, we was kids. And so it's gonna be a little sting. But she said, Tony, you the biggest player I've ever known. That's what she said. She said, you ought to write a book. And I said, well, okay, get me 10 questions from your friends at school, and I'll answer them no holds barred from a male perspective. She said, okay, cool. So she started submitting me some questions. I added some questions in there from my life that would expose me. Like, you know, why do black men date white women? I answered that question in there. In my book, What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl. What was another one? Why do some men hit women? I answer that question. Can guys and girls truly be friends? I answer that question. So I started answering these questions in that book. You know, the book wasn't edited. Me and my wife kind of skimmed through it. It got typos in there. Some of y'all still buying it. Some of y'all got it. That book, What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl, it came out in 2007. So you got to understand, that's why I try to tell y'all, like, a lot of people talking about, oh, you know, you pandering to women. You pandering to women. Like, listen, I've been doing this since 2007. You feel me? 2007. Do you know who made relationship advice popular? Steve Harvey. Do you know when Steve Harvey wrote his book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man? 2009. I had been in the trenches, on the grind for 2 whole years before Steve Harvey came out with his book as a celebrity. When I published my book, February 1st, 2007, I was 22 years old. So I've been out here. I've been out here since 2007. So the relationship coaches that you see like going hard in the paint in loving relationships, go to Amazon and search their name. Don't put their name in my comments. Don't be suggesting people because we don't know how they living. But go to their name. Hey, baby. Yeah. Do you got a lint roller? Got some lint on my, look like lint on my car. You know, a lint roller. Go to Amazon and search their name and find their books and see what year that book was published. See what year that book was published. The earliest that I know, of course it was love and relationships before that, but not as a black man, because we talk the least. Black men talk the least. We talk the least as far as like expressing ourselves and opening up, especially black men in America, because all the trauma that we done been through as black people in America. We talk the least. So, hey, babe, you sure you don't want none of this jambalaya or this pizza? I'm finishing up a little video. You don't want to take with you? The jambalaya hidden now. It's spicy. I think Tia like it. It's a lint roller now. You think it'll get this right here? It just look like.
Fabric shaver.
Cause it's suede. Oh, the fabric shaver. Okay, I'll use that. I'm gonna come back out here. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna do it later. Cause I'm shooting video. Okay, I'll lay. You waiting on me to get out? No, I'm about to get out. I just don't want to drop nothing. I got it. Huh? Oh no, I ain't got you. You ain't in the way, is it? Wife, she ain't camera ready, so don't get her in here. All right, baby, I love you. Speed training? Okay. So now listen, you go, I want you to go and you look at the office. You look at the office. Bella, hush now. Hush. What's that noise? Nah. You look at the author. The author that you, not the author, the relationship coaches that you follow. You look them up and you tell me who got a relationship book 2007 or earlier. That's my age. That's in my generation now. Steve Harvey twice my age, and I come out 2 years before he came out. In 2007, I didn't have Twitter. Instagram did not exist. I don't know if YouTube existed in 2007. I didn't have YouTube. So guess what? With the work that I was doing, it was off the muscle. Like, there was no social media except for Facebook. That's all I had, Facebook, and I had MySpace. Got on MySpace, Facebook. That was it. And so now listen. So Facebook just now, walking through my bathroom, my office bathroom. Facebook just now got Facebook just now got monetized. Okay? Just now got monetized like a year ago or something as far as for video content, right? So when I'm on Facebook, it was just the friends page. We didn't even have the business page back then, 2007. So I'm literally just adding friends and messaging them about my book. My first royalty check for What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl, you get paid quarterly. So I published with an internet publisher called Author House. So you have January, February, March. My book come out February 1st. So all February, all March, I'm promoting the book on Facebook, on MySpace, and then going out with little business cards at the mall, everywhere, handing out little cards of my book. I get my royalty check probably for that first quarter, February, March, January, February, March. The book came out February. I get it. You take about 6 weeks for the check to come in. So I get it probably April, May. I get it by May. I get it May. And I got married in March 30th. 2 months after my book, February 1st book come out, March 30th, I'm married. March 8th, I turn 23. March 30th, I get married, 23 years old. April 26th, our first son was born. His due date was July 4th. He was born April 26th. I'm working at this time at a group home, making $9.50 an hour. And I'm pushing and I'm promoting this book. I have no blueprint because Steve Harvey did not exist. The other coaches knew nothing of them. Never heard of them. I don't even know if they was in the game as an author then. I don't know if they was writing, if they was in the book situation. I knew no authors. I had never read a full book. The only books I had read was Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and the Holy Bible. I had never read a book. So when I wrote my book, and so I'm literally out there. I had stopped selling drugs in 2006 for my wife. Because we was apart for 6 months. We were together for a few months. She broke up with me. We was apart for 6 months. We bumped back in each other. When we bumped back in each other, I was back in the streets hustling. I started hustling when I was like 18 or 19, when I was in college. I was serving out the dorm room and stealing from stores and stuff like that. Hidden licks, what we call it. And so when I met my wife, got back with my wife, 2006, I left the streets. Right away, she didn't make me leave the streets, but probably a month into us getting back together, she had me leave the streets. So I had left the streets. I was clean. I was working. On the job, $9.50 an hour. I got my first royalty check. My first royalty check was $320 or $370. I can't remember, from that book. When I was waiting on that royalty check, I thought because my book was on Amazon.com was still kind of new. It was new to me. I don't know when it came out. I'm going to pull up my computer and see. But Amazon had a thing called, I went through the publisher, but Amazon, you could have your books put on Amazon. And so the publisher got it on there. And I'm thinking that Amazon big, they the #1 bookseller now in the world, or they trying to be competing against Barnes & Noble. Borders bookstores later went out of business. And so I'm thinking that, okay, drive-by traffic. My book is going to have people just searching on Amazon and then they're going to find my book. That's what I had been told. That's what I was telling my wife. I told my wife, I said, baby, it's on Amazon.com. It's this thing called Amazon. And I'm going to see when Amazon was founded. Ooh, 1994. He had to grind in because I ain't know about Amazon until 2007. But you were 13 years old when I found out about you. What? I ain't know about Bezos, Jeff Bezos. Till 2007 when my book went on there. That's when I found out what Amazon was. And I'm going to tell you, when was Twitter founded? So he had a little grind before he became the richest man in the world. I think he just got Twitter, March 21st, 2006. I think they launched probably 2007. I didn't get on Twitter till 2009. March of 2009. So Twitter was 3 years old when I got on Twitter. 3 years old in 2 days. I got on there March 25th, I think. They were 3 years old. And so, listen to me. For the people that say, oh, Tony's pandering to women, listen. I was out here living my purpose, giving away the game when there wasn't no money involved. Wasn't no money involved. I told my wife, I said, baby, I think I'm going to sell like 1,000 books a month through this thing called Amazon.com, because people going to be searching for like relationships. They're going to be searching this and that. And then Amazon, they suggest other books. So they're going to suggest my book. People going to buy my book. And so, you know, back then I used to think that I looked good. And then women used to try to gas me up. And so women were saying, oh, you on the cover, it's going to sell, you know, because you on the cover, it's going to sell. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's going to sell. I got that royalty check. That check said I sold 70 books. I say, what? 70 books? They had to have a typo. I'm like, what kind of typo these people got in their computer system? I call up there, I'm going off. I probably said a cuss word. I ain't cuss though. I ain't used to cuss. I don't cuss. I never cursed. I cursed for a few years of my life, but I just never liked cursing after I seen the Malcolm X movie. And the man told Malcolm, when Malcolm was in jail, he said a man curses because he lacks the vocabulary to express what's on his mind. After I seen that movie, when I was young, I just decided I'm not going to curse because I'm like, I don't want to be no dummy, because this man just said you dumb if you curse, basically what he was saying. So that's what, for those of you who want to know why I don't curse, that's why I don't curse, because of that Malcolm X movie. See how a movie will change your life? And so here I am. Here come the royalty check, 70 books. I probably cried. I don't think I cried for real, but I was, boy, look here. Look here. I was hurt. So that was May when I got that check. May, after I got that check, it probably was the next week or a couple weeks later, I went back to the streets. I was like, ain't no money in trying to do right. I'm like, crime pays. Going straight don't do you no good. And I went back to the streets. I read up with my plug, which was my cousin. And we had, you know, the best of the best, you know, or that sticky icky. On the West Coast, they was calling it, you know, chronic or something. Where I'm at, we called it dro. And so it literally, you know, some guys, one of my cousins, his stuff looked like grass out your yard. Looked like you could go mow your lawn, and that's what his stuff looked like. I said, what is this? I've never smoked in my life. I've never smoked the blunt. I've never taken a puff. I really don't even know if I done really seen too many rolled up blunts in front of me, because I ain't hang around smokers. You know, we had the saying, don't get high on your own supply. And so I never seen my cousin smoke either. And he was like one of the bigger dope boys in the area. And so I just had no interest in smoking, because it was that year my uncle went to prison. My uncle's still in prison today for $20 worth of drugs, $10 worth of cocaine, $10 worth of weed. He's still in prison. He did 14 plus years in prison for that $20 worth of drugs, literally $20 worth of drugs. He took it to trial. They offered him a year and a day. He probably would have been out 9 months. You know, he turned it down. He went to trial. Why, I do not know. Why he thought he could win, I do not know. Maybe it was just, you know, just what was in his system had him thinking that he could beat it. They throw the book at him. So he gonna do 27 years for that $20 worth of drugs, because he turned down a year and a day. That's the reality of the world that we live in as black men. And a lot of people don't understand that. And a lot of people can't even believe that. I went to so many white men talking about my uncle. Every time I told them, they did not believe me. They said, Tony, there's no possible way in the world. There's no way in the world. They look up his case. They said, Tony, you're right. I don't understand this. I don't know what happened. And I said, look, that's the reality of a black man in America. Point blank, period. Y'all think we making excuses. Y'all think we just making stuff up. Y'all think we just pulling a race card. No, it's real out here. It's real out here. My uncle doing 27 years for $20 worth of drugs. $20 worth of drugs. And so he got into selling drugs because he was smoking drugs. So it was big dope boys that they would have, you know, they clients who smoked the drugs, they would have them do the little run, do the little sales for them in the street. My uncle was said to be one of those men. I don't know if it was true. My uncle said it ain't true, but just knowing what was going on back then, you can't really fully say. And so after seeing how I saw people who started with smoking weed end up complete total drug addicts doing every drug, that's why I never smoked. That's why I never smoked. That's why I never been drunk. I never been drunk. I done had like a glass of wine and drunk it too fast and felt a little, the red wine. But I'm at my house. But I never get drunk because I had aunties. That was my mama brother. My mama's sisters, two of my mama's sisters was drunks all day long. They would be drunk all day long. Smell like alcohol all day long. And so I never get drunk. I never smoke weed. And so, because I saw the repercussions of that. But one thing I did not see was, the repercussions of selling drugs. Like all the dope boys was free. All the ones that I knew was free. You know, I didn't know any personally that went to prison for drugs. They'll go to prison for other stuff, but not for drugs. So that was the one thing I didn't directly see consequences for. So that's why I got in the streets. So I went back to the streets. And so we had what we call dro. And essentially, for y'all smokers, you know what dro is. It looked like a little Christmas tree to me. That's how I describe it. It looked like it was little green, you know, thing. But it looked had sparkles on it. I didn't smoke it. When I smelled it, it smelled like if you had an air freshener called Forest Green, it smelled fresh. Like it didn't smell stank. Like a lot of, you know, what you had, Miz and Reggie, smelled stank. I'm not a smoker though. So I didn't really know it, but I'm looking at them. I'm like, man, this thing smell clean, man. This thing smell fresh. Like, man, and of course you still smell it. And so that's what I had from my cousin. That's what I was selling. And so, and then I had got a few other plugs. So I had got a little something and I started selling it. I told my cousin, I was like, cuz, man, my wife made me get out the streets, man. She made me get out the streets. You know, we got married in March. It's probably like May or June. I'm like, man, she made me get out the streets. And he said, cuz, she ain't gonna be complaining when the money come in. And he said, tell her that. So when I went home with the work that first day, she was like, I told you, no, you cannot do that. That is not you. You are not a dope boy. You're smart. You're an author. You just wrote a book. Like, what are you doing? No, I told you I refuse to be with somebody that is living an illegal lifestyle. We have a son. Our son is in the intensive care unit. He was born 2.5 months early. He was still in the intensive care unit. He didn't get out till June or July. And so, probably July. And he went in April 26th. He was born. So, I'm like, you ain't gonna be saying that when that money come in. Tried to quote my cousin. That was the wrong thing. My wife looked at me, and I remember she was gone the whole day. She was gone, and she was in my Impala on 22s. And I had the only Impala on 22s in the city right then. And I was mad because I was in her little Honda Civic, and I would hit my licks. You know, so I was going around making my sales or whatever, letting everybody just get it in their nose. Hey, get this in your nose, boy, and go ahead and cop off of me. Bumped into this little rapper, and he was in a big game. And he bought a little something from me, just one like a gram. And then he came back, he was like, hey man, how much you got? You know, I want to get like 7 grams. And then I think I had 5 grams left. I sold him 5 grams for the price of 7. It was $20 a gram back then. And so a week later, I got robbed. So I kind of always assumed that it was them because I had shorted them. And they were part of like a big gang. And so I always assumed it was them. I really don't know who it was. It could be one of my homeboys that I still talk to today. You know, just how black men, we turn against each other just because coming from slavery, you just, there really ain't no real love, no real loyalty in a lot of cases. So I don't know who set me up that robbed me, but it could have been anybody. Nonetheless, at that time when I got robbed, my wife hadn't broke up with me in marriage. So she broke up with me, like not like broke up with me, but she left. I tried to hold her, you know, tried to bear hug her. She got out that bear hug, you know, tried to just beg her to stay. And she like, no, I'm gone. So she really needed to prove a point to me, like, I'm not going to be here. And so she left, and I couldn't reach her. For like 3 days. I couldn't reach her. I was losing my mind. I went to my homeboy house that I was in the streets with, because it was a little homeboy I was in the streets with that I met in my apartment complex. See this 72-hour rule in the book, A Woman's Influence? That 72-hour rule, I created that in the relationship space. You know, I heard Drake talking about his mama gave him a 72-hour rule. That ain't what this is. But this 72-hour rule, I coined that because I couldn't reach my wife for 3 days. And in them 3 days, it sent me on an emotional roller coaster. It's like I'm sitting there, I'm crying, I'm sad, I'm pondering life. Like I'm thinking about I'm going to lose my wife. My son is in the intensive care unit. I just was trying to make some extra money for the household because my wife had to quit working because she worked at the group home with me. But she had to quit working because I got a coach in 20 minutes. So the video can't go more than 20 minutes. I'll probably cross an hour on this because I just want to get this out there. It's going to be a clickbait title too. So, you know, just to get a grown boy to watch it. And so, y'all forgive me. I don't mean grown boy, but, you know, man, whatever you call yourself. And so, I finally reached my wife after 3 days, and she gave me her stipulations. Because we got a family. We just got married. Like, I ain't cheat on her. It was just, I was in the streets. I'm trying to make some money for the family. Like, every other dope boy I knew had a girlfriend, a wife, or a baby mama, and they were cool with it. I'm like, what the world, man? Why the one that I chose trying to be all tough and holy and righteous, and I can't be in these streets? I'm like, it's just marijuana. I ain't messing with the white stuff. I ain't selling no cocaine. And I'm like, and I'm not trafficking cross state lines. Before I met her when I was in college, I had to traffic cross state lines. I'm like, I ain't trafficking. I'm like, I'm right here in my city. Maybe at the most go to 2 counties over, go like 2 hours up the road. But I'm like, I ain't going crazy now. And so I'm just getting a little extra money. You know, just literally trying to touch like a couple grand a week. Just to, you know, just give us a little cushion. And a lot of guys, they talking about they don't tell their street story. You don't tell a street story because you ain't got no street story to tell. The police can't do nothing to me. People are, why you talking about it? The police can't do nothing to me. You got to have evidence. You ain't got no evidence. I'm talking about 2007. Oh, we finna take you to jail because of what you said on the... You got to prove in the court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. You know why? I'm a criminology major. I went to college 8 years. I was in college 8 years. But I was sitting in the classroom listening to the teacher, remembering what I wanted to remember. But I was sitting in the classroom, in my backpack, I had a 1/4 pound of weed and a .380 handgun every day. Every day. I was a criminology major. The reason why I majored in criminology is because I was a criminal. I needed to know my rights. I needed to know what can and can't be done. I needed to know. So... listen to me. So when you hear these rappers rapping about this stuff, they're not going to jail just because they rapped about it. They're going to jail because they rapped about it, and the rap coincides with the physical evidence that the people have against them. The testimonies, the fingerprints, the gun shell, the shell casings, it coincides with the song. That's why they go to prison. For those of y'all who always wondered that, didn't know that. But you can't just, because everything I'm saying right now, this fiction in the court of law. This fiction with it in the court of law. You got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. You got to have witness testimony, all that, or physical evidence. You can't just say, oh, because he said that on YouTube or on a song. Oh, that's fiction. You ain't got no proof. That's fiction. See what I'm saying? All right, there you go. So when I reached my wife, she gave me her stipulations. She said, listen, because we had only been married at this time since March 30th. It was June. It was like June 16th, 2007. And I was at my sister and my mama apartment. They was living together, my sister and my mama. They were living together in an apartment. And I had went over there because I was just so lonely at me and my wife's apartment. I was so lonely, and it was just wrecking my brain. So I had packed up some clothes and stuff, because I used to have a bunch of jerseys back then. Jerseys, I was fitted. I used to be fitted now. And I used to spend all my dope money in the mall on clothes. And I used to not pay my bills. I was bad. I ain't paid rent, none of that. Car note, I wait till I'm about to get evicted or the car about to repossess, then I'll make the payment. So that's how I was. And so I went back home, and I went to the apartment. Me and my wife, we met up there, and I was hurt. I was mad. I was just kind of shocked she tried me like that. I was like, what? You trying me? Like, you want to be tough? I'm finna cheat on you. Like, I was looking for a way how I'm going to get back. And then on the way home, I got a lady number on the highway. I got a lady number on the highway. She looked probably 10 years older than me, was not attractive. So after I seen that she was not attractive, I definitely was not going to call her. And so I just let that go. And but I got her number because I was mad with my wife for trying me. And I wanted to get back at her for having the audacity to leave. God had other plans. See, I'm telling y'all all of this right here because this is how I understand grown boys and how grown boys move. And so when I got back to the apartment, I went in, me and my wife, we made up, grown folks, what grown folks do. I had taken all my jerseys and my clothes and stuff that I had took with me to my mama and them apartment. I had that hanging in the back of the car. I got that out the car. But I left my Michael Jordan bag. I had a little bag with like my school books in it. I had some school books. And then my trunk was full of all my memorabilia. I had got it from my mama. So all my trophies from playing sports over the years, all that was in the trunk. And then my What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl book was in the car. And how people used to put their Bible on the dashboard or in the back window, I did that with my book, What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl, so people will see it. There was another little marketing, you know. And so I went in the house. When I came back out, somebody had obviously followed me home, or somebody was watching me from one of the other apartments. And so when I parked and I went in the house, me and my wife, we made up. After that, I was hungry. I said, man, let's go get some Taco Bell. We came back downstairs. I went to my parking space. My car was gone. I looked on the ground. I see glass. I just sat on the parking stop, and I was blowed. We got in my wife's car. We ride around through the city. We just ride around through the city, maybe see if we're going to see it. Call the police. I do a report. They find the car like the next day on his belly. 22-inch rims gone. The little 22 sign that was like kind of like rhinestone encrusted, 22 inches. They snatched that off. They had poured oil all through my car. They had shot it up, looked like maybe with a BB gun or a little small 22 or something. I don't know if they were trying to set it on fire because they had poured oil all through it, and then I guess was shooting it up as they was pulling off, maybe trying to make the gas tank bust and maybe make it catch fire. But now I had no clue because of how I was moving in the streets. And I was moving so fast, I was so reckless that I actually left my keys in the car. My keys, I would leave my keys in the car in case I had to make a quick run, in case I had to just break out and just take off running, like from whatever, a robbery or for police, because I was in the streets. So I would leave my keys in the car so I could just jump in and boom, just be gone. And I was just that reckless with it. And my rim lock was in the car for my rims. I just was reckless. I just really didn't care. I didn't really value it like that. I didn't really value life like that either. And so it was the easiest job they ever did. They just went, when they hop in, they go in the glove compartment or whatever, looking for whatever. So they went in the glove compartment, got the keys. They ain't had to hotwire the car. They just crunk up and drove off. And so I didn't have insurance because I take chances. I ain't have real insurance. I had the barely legal insurance, which was $75 a month. I ain't have full coverage, comprehensive and all that. So the insurance people like, we can't do nothing for you, playboy. Hey, I said, sorry about your luck. They found my car. They took it to a shop. I asked the shop what it's going to take to get me back in running condition. Because the car was only 2 years old. It was 2007. My car was a 2005. I still owed like 12 grand on it. They said it's going to take $8,000. I ain't have $8,000. I had just got back into the streets that month, so I hadn't really made no lot of money. So I just let the car sit there. I let the shop have it. All my memorabilia. I remember boo-hoo crying like a baby. That thing hurt me more than my wife leaving me because I was a grown boy. So that car was my net worth. That was my symbol of status. That car represent me making it. Because when you come from nothing, that's why you see these rappers with all this jewelry. Because to them, that represent making it. Our cars, our jewelry, that represent making it for us. Because we ignorant. We come from nothing. You don't know no better. So I thought that meant something. And so when that was gone, I was stripped of everything. And I realized that was like my Job moment, to where God allowed the devil to touch me. He said, okay, I'm going to allow you to touch him, tempt him to go to the streets. I failed the test. I went to the streets. All right, now I'm going to allow you to touch his wife. And God gave her the strength to lead me, to send me that message. Now I'm going to allow you to send the Jack boys to rob him. And God allowed my son to be born 2.5 months early. So when you put all this together, it created the perfect storm. I had just about lost my wife. I lost my prized possession in my car. My first and only son was in the intensive care unit, which I thought was his deathbed because I didn't understand medicine and science like my wife. She was a biomedical science major at the time. So she understood the technology they use in the NICU to keep my son, healthy and thriving. Me, I thought he was going to die. I literally thought he was going to die because I'm like, man, he turning blue. He stopped breathing. He turned blue and purple. Everything shut down. He keep doing this every few days. They say his lungs didn't develop. They say his brain didn't develop. They say he's not ever going to be able to really play sports or do anything like that. They tried to tell my wife that. She said, get up my face. My son ain't got that. She said, I don't want that packet. I don't need that packet. She had faith. My son, he doing amazing. My son doing amazing. He's 13 years old today. But then look at me and my wife's life. At this time, me and my wife did not have furniture in our living room. We didn't have a couch, no furniture set in the living room. What you got in your living room? You got furniture. We didn't have any furniture. We didn't have no TV in the living room. We didn't have nothing. We had a bed in our room that cost $99. The whole bed cost $99. We had a TV that come from my wife's dorm room from her freshman year of college. She probably was like a junior now in college. TV, old, raggedy. That TV right now, that TV will be worth $25. Back then, $50. One flat screens back then, 2007. And so we ain't had nothing. We were pinching pennies because I'm working making $9.50 an hour. My check was $600 every 2 weeks. That's $300 a week, $340 a week. My check was $680. So if you got 4 weeks in a month, I get paid twice. So I'm making $1,320 a month times 12. Okay, times 12. So that's why I don't want to hear nobody mouth about what I do with my money and how I bless my wife, because I'm making $1,320 a month times 12, $15,840 a year was my salary as a grown man, taking care of a wife and a child, trying to pay lights, water, rent, all that. $1,840. $15,840. Some months you get 3 paychecks just because of how it fall. But if I'm getting paid every 2 weeks, 52 divided by 2, that's 26 checks a year times 680. Did my math wrong. $17,680. $17,680. That's what I was making. My wife was bringing in more money than me from her Pell Grants because she had a track scholarship that was giving some money, not a full. She had academic scholarship, and then she had Pell Grants. So every semester she would get $10,000 of like refund. Her refund check would be $10,000. So she got that in January and she got that in August. So plus her $20,000, that put us at $37,680. So that's how we was able to live, but it was tight because we young, we don't know how to manage money, so we still go to the mall and buy a new pair of shoes, still go to the movies, still go out to eat, still got to loan money to certain family members. We ain't have it like that. And so $37,680. And so now I almost lost my wife. She gave me a second chance. I knew that was going to be the only chance she was going to give me. I knew that second chance was going to be the only chance she would give me. And I also knew that if she would leave me for selling drugs, that she would leave me for cheating on her. If a woman will leave for a man having a hustler ambition and getting out here in these streets taking chances, if she got that much character, if she got that many standards, then she'll definitely leave if the man go and get in an affair. So I knew that was off limits. I knew I couldn't do nothing as far as it concerned, as an affair was concerned, because she left me off over a little bit of it. And then she went, I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't yell at her. I couldn't come in late. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't go to the club. None of that. Everything was shut down. Club shut down. When I got out the streets, I had to call my homeboy and say, hey, bro, look, I can't hang out no more, bro. I can't go to the club. None of that, man. I'm just finna be off the scene, man. Hey, I ain't gonna be in the streets, man. Getting out the streets. My cuz like, what? Get out the street, man. What, cuz? You cutting me off? My homeboy, my best friend since kindergarten, he was like, man, you cutting me off, man? Hey, they understand today. Look at me today. When I left them streets, when I left the club alone at 23 years old, when I came home, it was a Friday night. So when I went outside, my car was gone. That was probably 1 a.m. Saturday morning. That day was June 17th, 2007. No, that was Sunday. So that was June 17, 2007 is the day I changed my life. So when it was early Saturday morning, my car got stolen. So it was June 16th, my car got stolen. You could Google what day of the week was June 17, 2007. June 17th, I went to church with my wife. And when they did the altar call, I went up to the altar and she went up there with me. Because she told me, you got to rededicate your life to Christ. You got to change your life. She went up there with me. And the pastor put the mic in my face. He said, you got anything to say? I said, I just want to thank God for being with me. I've been in the streets doing the wrong thing and, I'm back home. And he was like, oh, amen, amen. And then everybody started clapping. And then he put the mic in my wife's face. He was like, anything you got to say? She said, no, I'm just up here supporting him. She's like, okay, all right, brother. Yeah. So June 17, 2007, when I changed my life. And so at that point, now I got a job. And that's my only income. The book, I probably making, that first year, I probably made $500, $600. I thought my royalty check was going to be $4,000 a month. for 3 months. So I thought every time I got a check, it would be $12,000. That's how big I was dreaming. My wife told me later, she said, I knew that book wasn't going to do nothing, but I just wanted you to have hope because I wanted you to see a way out of the streets. I wanted you to use your gifts. My wife gave me the $1,300 that it cost for me to publish that book. She gave me the $1,300 out of her January refund check. That's how I published my book, February 1st. January, you start the second semester. You start the spring semester of college. And so when she got her refund check, she took and she gave me $1,600. And I took $1,300 of it and published my book with expedited publishing so that it'll be out in 4 weeks instead of like 8 weeks or however long it took. So it was $800 to publish plus $500. So it was $1,300. Yeah, $1,300. I still remember it. And it was a couple years before I made $1,300 back. And then my mama took and gave me like $700 and something because I think she sold her house. Her and my daddy went through a divorce around that time. She sold a house that I was raised in, and she had some money, and she gave me like $700-800 to order 100 copies of my book, which costed $775 because it was like $775 a copy. And so there I was, wound bound, and I changed my life. So it was then I look back, it was 3 o'clock, I got to go. From that point on, I just was on a pursuit of excellence, a pursuit of perfection. And I had to go full-fledged in my message. So I started pitching myself every single day to Oprah and to Tyra. I said in 2 years, I want to be on Oprah. 2009, I got the call from Oprah to go tell my story. Then I got the call from Tyra Banks to go tell my story. Then the 700 Club, 2009. After I finished those 3 runs, they was real close, I got on Twitter. After Oprah, I got on Twitter. And I just started quoting every single day. And then it was around 2012. 2009, Steve Harvey book came out. But then it was around 2012 when I started, 2011, 2012, when I started seeing other black male relationship coaches who were young. And the reason why they got into it, the reason why a lot of them got into it, was because I was the number 25 black man on Twitter in 2010. LeBron James was number 1. They ranked the top 100 black men on Twitter. I was ranked number 25, and I was literally working at a group home. But people thought I was a celebrity because I had went on Oprah. Oprah did not make me a dime. Tyra Banks did not make me a dime. Tyra Banks, I sold 70 books again, like I did in the first year, 2007. I sold 70 books. When I got my royalty check, after having been on Tyra Banks' show, and she showed my book on her show, they said I sold 70 books. Them people could have been cheating me out my money. It could have been 700. I don't know. But I ain't had no lawyer money, no forensic accountant money to go get their books audited. And now I'm a minute late from a call. But see, I could tell this story for even longer, but one day I'll probably do a full documentary of my life. And so, y'all really can understand. So for me, I got this out of mud. Like, this was about passion, purpose, and pursuit. This wasn't about money. This wasn't about pandering to women. I ain't had no audience. But when I made it look glamorous, because people saw that I had gone on Oprah, they thought I got on Oprah being an author. I got on Oprah just as a guest telling my story. But young men, they saw me and they were like, man, that's something else we could do. So guys who had beat on their girlfriend, beat on their wife, had lived the past that I lived, guys who had been dope boys, guys who, when they heard my story, guys who had kind of been players, they said, let me start teaching on love and relationships. And that's what they started doing. And they literally, I watched these guys come up. I ain't gonna say names, but I raised these boys because I saw their blueprint was the same as mine. They literally copied my blueprint. They copied my message. They just, because being black men in America, you don't know how you gonna make it. So you see the athletes. And most of them had tried to be an athlete. It didn't work out, just like me. Tried to be a dope boy. It didn't work out, just like me. So then your next thing, you looking for what can I do? And I made relationship coaching look like it was lucrative. But it was making me no money. And nobody knew that. But because I had tens of thousands and then hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, people thought I was making money, and I was not making money. But then eventually, like 2010, after being in the game from 2007, from being an author, from being a speaker, for 3 years, that's when I started getting booked to speak. I had one love and relationship speaking engagement in 2010 that I could remember, and it was for $1,500. $1,500. Then 2011, it started to take off. 2012. By 2013, I was an intercontinental speaker, and I was paid $10,000 to speak in Johannesburg, South Africa. And that was on business. That was on entrepreneurship, not love and relationship. My love and relationship, probably the most I was paid to speak on love and relationship was probably $5,000. And that very rarely happened. And then I started touring myself. And I remember one year I toured, and I did about $350,000 in ticket sales. That's nothing compared to what people doing today who do tours. But that was back then, 14, 13, 15. I think I recall seeing my Eventbrite page saying that I had did over $330,000 in ticket sales. And I probably had did, 15 to 20 stops. So the events, they was bringing in anywhere from 8K to 35K. Ticket sales, I think the highest was like 30K, 28 to 30K. And then selling in the back of the room, selling books or whatever, t-shirts or whatever. The most I sold in the back of the room was in Chicago one time. It was like $6,000. So that was the first time. That's after I had been in the game for 9-10 years. Before relationship stuff was like I was reaping from sowing. So that's what people don't understand. It was no money in it. It was no money in it. It was just me living my purpose. And then you figure out how to do this full time and create a strategy to where you could do it full time and not have to work a job while you're trying to serve your purpose. And that's when events came, speaking engagements, me doing my own tours, me writing more books because now I have a following. So now my books was able to earn at that time. And then 2017, I signed a book deal with a top 5 publisher after having self-published for 10 years. So, hey, for quote unquote Tony Gaskins the panderer, that's the backstory. So that you realize today, I could transition today. And I've seen people with no name get on YouTube and become millionaires. I know how to do the same thing. And I could do that in any industry. The car industry, I could do it in cooking industry. I could do it in any industry. I could do it in finance industry, talking about stocks. I could do it in investing. I could do it, not just stocks, but all investing in finance. I could do it in business branding. I could do it in author for authors. I could be the #1 author coach because all the tens of books I have self-published, all the countless books I have written. So I could earn money today in countless different industries. I probably have in total, I buy my family cars too, but in all the cars that I could touch, probably 10, 12 cars. I could have a car channel showing updates, showing interior getting done, showing everything, rims getting put on, showing. I could have a whole complete car channel and be making hundreds of thousands or making 7 figures a year. But I'm doing this right here because this is what I'm called to. And because this is God's purpose for my life, to strengthen the foundation of the world, which is love and relationships. Cars, money, that's not the foundation. Our connection as human beings in intimate relationships is the foundation of the world. That will dictate and determine everything else and how the world revolves. And that's the space that God called me into because of all of the damage and the dirt that I did and all of the experience and understanding that I gained. That's why I'm here. Hey, God bless you. For those who didn't know, if somebody ever asks you, send them these 2 videos on pandering. God bless you. We'll talk soon.